You know you're in an isekai when the most dangerous character in episode 1 isn't a demon lord, it's traffic. In most stories, getting hit by a truck is a tragedy. In isekai, it's your onboarding process, your job interview, and your visa application to another world all rolled into one. How convenient. Today we're talking about the hardest working, least credited co-star in anime, Truck-kun. How did one extremely normal vehicle become the unofficial harbinger for reincarnation stories? Why is it always a truck? And is there any sign this trope is slowing down, or is Truck-kun still clocking in to his shift every season? Welcome to the Anime Trope Historian. Today we're talking about Truck-kun and the Isekai Death Truck. Truck-kun is the nickname fans gave to the suspiciously common setup where a protagonist dies in a traffic accident, usually involving a truck, and wakes up in another world with new powers, new stats, and usually better hair. The exact details vary. Sometimes the hero heroically pushes someone out of the way. Sometimes they just don't look both ways. But once you see that shot of headlights and a grill coming straight at the camera in episode 1, you know what genre you're in. And boy, oh boy, you better strap in. It matters because it turned a lazy plot shortcut into a shared joke. Instead of building a whole complex backstory, authors can say, "He got trucked, move on." Viewers understand instantly. We're in isekai territory. This guy's old life doesn't matter. Roll the opening theme music. On the fandom side, Truck-kun became a character in its own right. People draw it as a mascot, give it backstory, argue about which models have claimed the most protagonists, and treat it like this immortal force roaming modern Japan, seeking out sad office workers to isekai. Almost sounds like a force of good when you put it like that. Stories about dying and being reborn somewhere else are ancient. Myths, religious texts, classic literature. Anime didn't invent the idea of you died ding surprise, new world. What it did was modernize the cause of death. When light novels and early anime started playing with reincarnation plots in contemporary Japan, they needed a cause of death that felt sudden, mundane, and believable in a city setting. Enter traffic accidents. Why it wasn't death by paper cuts, perhaps we'll never know. Cars, trains, and buses all appear in older media as instruments of tragedy. But trucks hit a special sweet spot for these stories. They're common in both cities and small towns. They're big enough to feel instantly lethal. And they can believably come out of nowhere in a single panel or shot. In those early stories, the truck wasn't the point. It was just a quick way to remove the protagonist from their old life. The emotional focus was on what they did in the new world, not how exactly they got there. But we all want to know way more about the truck now. What kind of cup holders has it got in there? As more and more series were using this same basic setup, patterns started to emerge. Fans began to notice, wait, why is it always a truck? What does this truck have against introverted Japanese teenagers? That's when Truck-kun started to officially come into its own as a cultural phenomenon. Then the isekai boom hit. Light novel imprints started filling up with stories about people dying and waking up in fantasy worlds, and anime adaptations shortly followed. For authors, the truck solution was incredibly efficient. You don't have to waste chapters on hospital scenes or drawn-out goodbyes. You set up a miserable, overworked protagonist, add one inattentive moment in the street, and boom, instant portal to swords and sorcery. Over dozens of series, the visual language solidified. Episode 1, gloomy commute. Protagonist lost in thought, crossing the road. Headlights, blaring horn, smash cut to white. Next scene, a god, a goddess, or a fantasy kingdom. Wahoo! Let the games begin. Fans online started giving the recurring killer a name, Truck-kun. Threads and wikis cataloged every series where a truck was responsible. People joked about it having a quota, Truck-kun is busy this season, or Truck-kun missed this guy, that's why the plot is slow. Memes were inevitable. Fan art gave Truck-kun anime eyes. People wrote fake interviews with it. Some even drew elaborate charts ranking which truck scenes were the most dramatic or ridiculous. At that point, the trope wasn't just a writing shortcut anymore, it was part of the meta experience of watching Isekai. Seeing a truck in episode 1 became a kind of spoiler and a punchline at the same time. Once everyone knew the joke, creators started playing with it. You get things like near-miss scenes where a character almost gets hit by a truck, only for it to swerve at the last second. Viewers who've seen 3 other series where the truck doesn't swerve are sitting there holding their breath. You see variant vehicles, buses, trains, falling debris, random accidents. Fans still file them under Truck-kun's extended family. If it kills you in traffic and sends you to a fantasy world, it's spiritually the same trope. Some shows lean directly into self-parody. Characters joke about how likely they are to get isekai'd crossing the street, or you see a protagonist actively avoid trucks because they've read too many light novels. That level of awareness only works because the trope is so widely recognized. Even outside anime, the meme took on a life of its own. People joke, "Truck-kun, take me away," when real life gets real stressful. Clip compilations mash up all the dramatic truck scenes into one ridiculously entertaining highlight reel. Parody cemented something important. The audience no longer just accepts the truck as a neutral plot device. They see it as a recurring character with its own arc and fan base. Ah, go Truck-kun, coming into its own. So, is Truck-kun still on the road? Recently, some isekai stories have started avoiding the truck setup, either because they want to stand out in a crowded genre or because they know viewers will roll their eyes the moment they see headlights. You get protagonists dying in more unusual ways or not dying at all, just getting summoned or teleported. Others skip the cause of death entirely and cut straight to, "You're in another world now, let's not talk about the bus." Even so, Truck-kun is far from retired. It still shows up in new series, often with a slight twist or extra drama, and it absolutely lives on in fan culture. Art, jokes, cosplay, even merch referencing "I survived Truck-kun" or "Truck-kun Isekai Tours." Completely scientific rating incoming. Cultural impact, 10 out of 10. There are only a few tropes so strong they get a fandom-wide nickname, and Truck-kun is one of them. Annoyance potential, 7 out of 10. If you've seen it a dozen times, a 13th truck might feel less like fate and more like copy-paste. Meme longevity, 8 out of 10. Even if authors move on to new gimmicks, Truck-kun is permanently parked in meme history.